Today I'm going to teach you how to create an entire monster stat block using only hit dice. Hey, I'm Jordan, resident game haver and mediocrest GM, here to share some tricks of the trade. Today, I want to tell you about a little idea I had that I'm calling the Hit Dice Monster 1. This was an idea inspired by the Cipher system and how it uses one number to derive an entire stat block, and I think with this formula, I've gotten pretty darn close to that. This way, you have a basic gist for the numbers, then the special abilities and the rest can be mostly flavor. Because we've all been here, let's face it. You got caught up in the moment, yes-anding your players, cool ideas, improving, and before you know it, you've Thanos'd a 5 flavor elemental that now you have to stat up on the spot because Crom knows that thing ain't in any MM, DD, or other similarly abbreviated folio of fiends. So rather than waste a bunch of your precious monthly allotted time crunching numbers on your abacus, here's a quick tip for off-the-dome denizens for you dungeon-delving desires. This is the Hit Dice Monster 1. That's right, move over high-definition multimedia interface. There's a new HDMI in town. Or HDM1, but you get it. Now, I didn't come up with this idea, but I did slap a catchy name on it, slightly tweak it, and took credit for reminding you of it. And if this was an OSR blog instead of YouTube, you'd be linking it to every TTRPG Discord you can find. So, yeah, you can do that if you want. But here's the basic gist. Hit dice are one number, but they represent the whole of the monster. Its level, its 2-hit bonus, saves, uses of a special, whatever. You can build out the entire stat block with just this one number. So let's take a look at an example, and I'm going to call it the 5th elemental. So the 5th elemental is going to be an HDM5, because why not? 5 elements, 5 hit dice. So we know it's a level 5, but how do we derive the rest of its stats? Simple. We know we're working with 5 hit dice. That means everything on this monster stat block is going to be based around the number 5. And this is how we're going to start off by deriving the hit points for this monster. Now, if you take the average on a d6, that's going to be 4 hit points, and then you multiply those 4 hit points by the number of hit dice the monster has, then you get your basic HP. Now, if you're playing a more heroic game like 5th edition, you might do a 5 times 5, or if this is an elite monster, for a nice round 25. All right, and then we move on to our stat point bonuses. Now, you can do this any kind of way you want, but basically, the monster is going to get a total of +5 to its stats. You might pick 3 of the stats, like, for instance, strength, constitution, and dexterity, and just balance out in whatever way you think makes sense for that monster, with a total of a +5 equal to its hit dice. Next, we move on to creating the monster's AC, DC, and 2-hit. And this is maybe the weirdest part of this whole formula, but I like to keep everything somewhat contained and reasonable. So what I do is I start off with a base of 9, and then I add the hit dice to derive the monster's AC and DC for things like spells and abilities. And I also take the 2-hit, and it's just 1 less than the HD. That way, if we have an HDM1, it can start with a +0 to hit and a 10 AC. So everything is pretty much just a flat number. But for this specific example, for our HDMI 5 5th elemental, we're going to start off with a +4 to hit and a 14 AC and DC, derived from our 9 base and our 1 less than its actual hit dice. All right, and for the last part to round out our stat block here, we just need our average damage. This is an idea I actually stole from Black Sword Hack via Phil from the Discord, but if you look at this little scale over here on the left, you can see that the average damage for the monster is just 1 more point than its hit dice. Again, you may want to up that by a point or 2 if you're playing games like 5th edition, but this gives you how many dice you're going to roll, and it actually even gives you, you can see at level 6, you start getting maybe a multi-attack, which is a really cool way to introduce those bonus dice. So there you have it. We have our really simple, straightforward 5th elemental stat block that we just came up with using just the 5 dice here. Hopefully that's helpful to someone out there. It definitely fits in the vein of all the old school games averages, but I just thought this was a quick, cool little tip for making monsters on the fly, and hopefully you enjoy it. All right, that's it for today. Hopefully this is useful for some of you folks out there. I just want to do more of these quick tip kind of videos to help game masters out there get ideas generated and keep their games moving. So if you enjoyed this, do all the YouTube things, and don't forget to check out my Kickstarter, which should be going live pretty soon here. Thanks for watching, and as always, learn, adapt, and grow. Hey, do you want to try more TTRPGs? What if I told you you could try them for free? Check out Crit, community-run infinite tabletop, a completely free online gaming convention with some awesome game masters, including myself and these folks who I interviewed on a previous episode of my podcast. Mark your calendars for June 20th through the 28th. Check out the link in the description below and remember to game at Crit. We'll see you there.